Hello and welcome to our in-house recruitment video and podcast series. My name is Natasha Priya-Cannon. I am Managing Director of In-House Recruitment. And today we are joined by the lovely Richard Bradley, the Managing Director, UK and Ireland of Kelly Services. So welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Richard, thank you. Do you want to give us a little bit of a brief overview as to who you are, some of your experience in the industry, and maybe a little bit more about who Kelly Services are as well?
Yeah, of course, Natasha. Thank you. Delighted to be on the podcast and the video. So thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Richard Bradley. I've been in the recruitment industry now since the early 90s. I've had the joy of working both agency, in-house and RPO throughout my career. So I've got a fairly good understanding of the industry. I've been involved really over predominantly the last 10, 12 years, very much in the RPO and solutions space with AMS. And as you mentioned, I'm now currently with Kelly Services, where I look after our European business for our solution delivery around our project resourcing business, but also running a more traditional staffing business. For those people that aren't really familiar with Kelly are a large American staffing business set up in 1946, often credited for being the founder of the temporary recruitment industry.
Obviously, we are on lockdown. Things are changing. Things are moving. But how are you guys faring, especially with temp and perm recruitment and all the solutions that you've got globally? How are Kelly Services getting on, and also yourself as well, really?
I think there are two things. I think most people are kind of a bit fed up of being in lockdown. But I think one of the things that we're really seeing, not just in the market and through clients, but again, if at lunchtime today with on the news coming from the Bank of England, there is still a real concern from people about coming out of lockdown. So I think there will definitely be an easing of some of the sort of social distancing, or certainly the ability to be able to get out and do things earlier. But I think, one of the big things is, even when lockdown starts to filter out, I think we've got a long way to go before we start to see consumer confidence and we see people feeling, comfortable going back to restaurants and to bars. So I think, whilst there might be an idea that, immediately everything opens, I think people will slowly become more comfortable and you'll start to see that happen. And, who knows what's in Boris's head? I'm not sure Boris knows half the time. But, the truth of the matter is something needs to happen, because you can see a real shift in, a concern around people's health, and quite rightly so, to, a set of scales and trying to weigh up, we've got to look after people's health. But at some point pretty soon, we've got to start thinking about the economy and the impact that's going to have.
For any leadership teams, whether that be within TA or just as a wider business, how do you think COVID-19 is going to impact the way that we work in the future? I know there's a lot of talk about the future of work and everything else, but does that leadership team need to have a mindset switch, a change, or what are your thoughts?
Honestly, I really struggle with this question. I struggle with this question because when we first came into lockdown, I was kind of a bit like, you go on holiday, you have a great couple of weeks, you sit there and it's like, I'm going to slow down, I'm going to do things really differently, I'm going to spend less time at the office, I'm going to make sure I'm always out by 6 o'clock. 2 weeks after being back from holidays, all back to normal. And I do think there's going to be an element of that in when we come back to work. I think there are a lot of things that will return to normal. What I think we have experienced is a shift in trust, an ability for people to understand how they are able to run their businesses slightly differently. What we haven't seen in a lot of organisations is that stress tested. So it works now when perhaps for the vast majority of people, businesses aren't as busy as they are. But when it gets really busy, when we start to see things ramp up, can it still work? Can it still be maintained? And I think that will be quite interesting to see. Whilst I think we've got a massive challenge coming with lots of displaced people. If you're in a big organisation, if you're a Vodafone of this world, an O2, a large brand, if you're having trouble keeping on top of your application process today, I'm telling you now, you need to be planning for what's going to happen when you've got, thousands more people coming to your business. And if you're in looking for opportunity, and if you're not setting yourself up to support that, there is a massive opportunity that could impact your consumer brand and what you're delivering further down the line. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in those areas.
How would you, or what are some of the initiatives that you've seen work around sort of technology to help with those different sort of TA processes that might need to be looked at?
Yeah, we've seen organisations play with a number of different things. So a lot of stuff around video conferencing, obviously, through to people being much more open to do video interviewing. We all talk about video interviewing, it being a great idea, and if it's done right, it's great. But the adoption levels have been pretty low, to be fair. But I think what you'll find is that more and more people start to be comfortable and accept that is something that they're going to have to get involved with, because you're not going to be able to meet physically. One of the things that we've seen a lot of what I would consider best-in-class organisations do is spend a little bit of time now looking at their existing process and actually walking through that process and thinking, if I had to apply to come and work for our organisation, what does it look and feel like? And there's been some real surprises. And I think, we talk a lot about talent experiences. I scarily hear people say, well, we don't have to worry about experience because there's more people on the market. If anything, I think we've got to think more about talent experience because there are more people on the market. Where we're probably seeing a little bit less than perhaps we were looking at is there's always a lot of talk about AI in the recruitment process. What we're experiencing personally, we're doing stuff with chatbots, and most organisations are trying to look at that. But it's about trying to still keep the process humanised.
Is there anything that you can be doing right now to improve your employer brand because you've been doing it well?
Yeah, I think authenticity is a really important word when it comes to employer branding, and I genuinely was really surprised to see, on platforms like LinkedIn, the number of people, employer branding teams that have been let go. Because for me, I think right now this is a massive opportunity for marketeers and employee branding to really come together. And for me, any organisation that is going to market today should be looking at TA and looking at your EVP really as your message to market. Because people aren't necessarily going out and buying a lot of things at the moment. So how do you use your employer brand to show that? And I think it's showing that authenticity. I think it's showing that level of empathy. I think it's about being very confident to still have conversations and communication. What talent communities are you building? And I hate the word talent pool because pools get stagnant. And a community, that's something you should be building, putting out messages, trying to engage with people and give them the opportunity to develop and learn by having an association with your business. More opportunity to be engaging with candidates, more opportunity to be treating people like humans. And we're not going to get, God forbid, we're not going to get this sort of opportunity again for some time. So I think this is the time to try and really engage with people and understand your business and lead by what's purposeful about your business, because that's what people are engaging with right now. You've got to ask yourself the question, how's your business dealt with COVID-19, and how do you think the people working with you and for you and your business to feel about that? Because I tell you what, if you haven't looked after people through this, they will walk in droves.
Did you have anything additional that you wanted to sort of comment on, or any sort of closing thoughts, really?
I think, firstly, it's been great to have a chat, Natasha. I think it's been.
I think we could talk for a lot longer as well.
Well, we
couldn't
could,
we?
and let's be fair. Nobody has the answer. My opinions are my opinions, and I'm happy to be challenged, and I'm always open to have conversations with people. I think what we've been talking about a lot over the last 12, 18 months around agility, around technology, around flexibility, and looking all of those areas, they have suddenly been thrust upon us at a pace that we just weren't expecting. And the great news is, I think the vast majority of us will come out relatively unscathed. I think the sad thing is that we are going to find ourselves in a situation where very big companies, small companies are going to go to the wall.
Richard, Absolutely. Thank you very much. That was really great. Thank you for your insight, and maybe have you back sometime soon.
Well, you never know. I'd be welcome back if anybody's still listening. Thanks very much. Natasha, it's been a pleasure. Always love chatting to you. Thank you.
Always. Thanks, Richard.